Hey, welcome back to the podcast. We are doing a hormone audit today for this special extra episode of the week. As a reminder, these hormone audits are meant to be just a starting place for me to get my eyes on what's going on with someone, call out some of the big things that I see that could be contributing to their symptoms, possible causes for those, and point out what the next logical next step should be for the person. Um, I cannot give, a full assessment when I do these audits because there is no opportunity for me to learn everything that I need to know about you from just one short intake form. We also have no testing to back up. Um, you know, or match up, I guess I should say, with the symptoms that you're having. So, keeping all of that in mind, today we are doing an audit for Tiffany, who is 38 years old. Her biggest concerns are bloating, cramps, heavy bleeding, and extreme exhaustion. She said, I look inflamed, pregnant when I'm not, in pain, and full of gas all of the time. I'm very tired and I never want to do anything. I have heavy bleeding and I don't even want to leave the house. So we've got a lot going on here. This is a lot of concerning symptoms, and I'm so glad that Tiffany decided to have me do this audit because I think that I can definitely give some tips and some next steps that are going to help. So she does note here that she does not feel rested when she wakes up in the mornings and that she has a lot of trouble falling asleep. So, there's some things we could do there with that. She didn't answer the question about whether she had trouble staying asleep or if she snored. So I would want to know that because I always wonder when there's sleep troubles if blood sugar and blood sugar regulation is contributing. I don't have that information. So, and again, I think I mentioned this in the last audit that I did. I would love to get some of you guys to come on live with me to do these audits because that way, if I do have clarifying questions to ask, you're right there. And you can also ask me some questions. So if anybody wants to volunteer to do one of those, there's a link in the show notes where you can sign up and raise your hand and say, hey, I would be interested in doing one of those or an audit, even just like this. Okay, back to her sleep. So, if it's just trouble falling asleep, a lot of times, especially for women, people that are moms, we have a hard time unwinding before bed. So, this might be the opportunity to start incorporating some of the stress resiliency increasing techniques that I teach my clients. This is basically just finding what works for you to help you unwind and de stress at the end of the day. It might be a hot bath. It might be doing some light yoga or just really stretching. Um, Maybe some somatic movement with your body. It could be reading. You could check in on your blue light exposure, get some, if that's not avoidable, because I know it's not for a lot of us, let's just be honest, invest in some blue light blockers. And when I say invest, that doesn't mean that it has to be something expensive. It doesn't. I think I got my blue light blockers that I currently have on Amazon for like 30 something dollars. And they're a pair of good ones. They actually do block out the blue light. They are the orangey reddish looking lenses. They're very comfortable. Um, yeah, so that doesn't have to be an expensive thing. That might help with your sleep. Now, if you are waking up in the middle of the night, that is often related to cortisol and your blood sugar. So, you might try incorporating a snack that's high in some fat and protein prior to bed and see if that helps keep your blood sugar stable through the night. And then, you wouldn't wake up. As far as her eating goes, she eats 3 meals a day and two snacks. I think that's great. Sounds like from that information that you're fueling yourself with enough. She doesn't follow any type of specific diet and doesn't really feel like she has a large amount of stress in her life that she can't handle. But when we get down in here, we're talking about her cycles. She says that yes, they are regular and she does track them. She says they're about 28 days apart. Um, and then we get into symptoms associated with her cycle. So, period cramps on average, she rates at a 7 out of 10. And in the section where I have signs and symptoms of PMS, she checks nearly every box. We have bloating, mood swings, headaches and migraines, increased feelings of depression, constipation, trouble sleeping, breast tenderness, low energy, carb cravings, diarrhea, and then heavy bleeding on her period. A lot of this points me towards an estrogen dominance situation, especially combined with the fact that she has a lot of GI symptoms and a lot of bloating. She also tells me a little later in the form that she's taking Metamucil fiber. Um, Probably means that there's some constipation going on, and that is commonly linked to estrogen dominance. Of course, we don't know that for sure without testing. We could test a few different ways to figure that out. We could use the Mira at-home testing device where we could see, hormone data in real time each day across a cycle. We could also perform a Dutch test to see where the estrogen numbers are at in the luteal phase of her cycle. But the big thing here that I think, especially with the wide majority, the wide variety of symptoms that she's having, is, of course, I wonder about minerals. She isn't taking a whole lot of supplements, which is not a bad thing, but there might be some opportunity there to support minerals. But you guys have heard me talk before. We don't want to just blindly do that. We want to do that with intentionality and confidence that we are supporting the right things. She does take a magnesium, which I think is great. Most people do need magnesium. We burn through a lot of magnesium. So I think that's great. Given the GI symptoms and all the things I'm seeing here, one of the minerals I would be specifically curious about to see on an HTMA test would be her sodium level, because I would bet that it's probably low, probably pretty depleted. We have to have sodium in order to make stomach acid. And we see a lot of these symptoms associated with low levels of sodium. And the world that we live in, we are taught to be somewhat fearful of salt. And I'm not saying that that's, not rightfully so, because the traditional form of table salt that we use to salt our food and we use a lot in cooking doesn't do us a lot of good. But when we have a high quality sodium source like Redmond sea salt, Celtic sea salt, some form of sodium that hasn't been stripped of its other minerals, it can be very nourishing for our body. And we actually need quite a bit of sodium because it is another mineral that's used up in our stress response. We also have that sodium and potassium pump that sits on every single one of our cells that dictates what can come in and what can go out of that cell. And that has to be working efficiently in order for us to feel good. And we have to have enough sodium and potassium in order for that pump to work efficiently. So for this person, for Tiphanee, in an ideal world, if I had a magic wand that I could wave and say, this is what we're going to do next, I would enroll her in my period makeover solution program. We would get the HTMA testing. We would do the at-home hormone testing with the Mira device, and we would see exactly where these things are. In terms of, what do your minerals look like? What do we have imbalanced here? Do we have any heavy metals? I would be really curious, especially with this wide range of symptoms that she's experiencing. Number one, are there heavy metals that we need to deal with and maybe detox from? And then also, what's copper doing? Do we have too much? Do we have not enough? Is it hidden? Do we need to help kind of naturally mobilize it? That would be some things I would specifically be looking for on the HTMA test. But I don't just want to leave her with enroll in this program, buy this testing, because that may or may not be, accessible for her right now. So some other tangible things that I think could be helpful, in addition to what I've already said about the sleep, to help with digestion and to help ensure that you are having healthy daily soft bowel movements and we're giving the body some support to make some more stomach acid, would be to switch over to a high quality salt. So that's going to be Redmond's is super easy to get your hands on. If it's not sold in your local grocery stores, you can order it on Amazon. That's what I have to do. Use that as much as you can for your topical salt when you're seasoning your food and also in your recipes when you're cooking. Start adding a pinch of that to a glass of water in the morning, right off the bat, first thing. Drink that. That helps hydrate your body. Make sure that you are consuming enough fluids throughout the day. You need to take your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2, and that should be the number of ounces that you're consuming of water on a daily basis. It's really easy for us to slack off on that. That's one thing that even with myself, I have to be really intentional and observant of, or I'll go all day and only have drank like 25 ounces of liquid, and it's nowhere near enough. Um, Chewing your food and how you approach your meals can really impact digestion and help with GI symptoms. Um, when you're getting ready for a meal, when you sit down to the table, number one, you need to be sitting down at a table. You need to be focused on your food. You don't need to be watching TV, playing on your phone, trying to multitask while you're eating it. Your food needs your attention. Sit down at that table and take 3 to 10 deep breaths and just like slow everything down. That helps your body get into the rest and digest state, and it's going to make digestion of your food easier. Then, as you're eating, I've already mentioned a lot of these things, but eliminate the distractions. Try not to have the TV on. Try not to um, having to get up and do a lot of things. I know sometimes that's difficult, like when you have kids that you're also trying to take care of, but just to the best of your ability, try to stay focused on your food because that's going to keep you more in tune with your hunger and fullness cues, and prevent you from overeating, which can also lead to discomfort and bloating. Try not to drink a lot of your liquids with your meal, so that that stomach acid that you do have is not getting diluted. Try to consume your liquids apart from meals. And then digestion begins in the mouth with chewing, with our saliva and our chewing. So chew your food more than you think you need to. Chew it, chew it, chew it, chew it, chew it, and then swallow. I could give you a number to count, but you're not going to sit there with every bite and count, how many times you're chewing it. Just chew it more than you think you need to. And that will help. One thing I want to end this on. She did share with me that she had been having horrible heartburn. She even went to the doctor, got an ultrasound, had some blood work done. Everything looked okay. But they did have her do some like over-the-counter antacids. And she's probably going to be listening through this episode and think, did Vanda not read where I said I had horrible heartburn? She's saying I don't have enough stomach acid and I feel like I'm overflowing in stomach acid. It's a common misconception that when we have heartburn, that we have too much stomach acid, but it is actually oftentimes the opposite. And it's like we're having the heartburn symptom because our body is trying to compensate for the fact that we don't have enough stomach acid in the first place. Then we dump in an antacid or some type of PPI on top of it, thinking that we are treating the heartburn, and we're really making the situation worse over time. And I can't get too much more into the weeds of that on this like short podcast episode of this hormone audit. But I did just want to call that out, that like I was not ignoring that portion of this audit. It makes total sense to me that you would be having and experiencing horrible heartburn. And I know that for some people, it's gonna sound counterintuitive that I'm telling you to try to increase your stomach acid, but I promise you it will help. Um, Having too much stomach acid is not the issue when you have heartburn like this. So I hope this audit episode has been helpful. If you are someone that is experiencing a lot of PMS symptoms, painful periods, painful cramping, heavy bleeding, and you're looking and ready to get help with your hormones, there is a link always in the show notes where you can go and book a call with me. It's a Happy Hormones Clarity call. It's 20 minutes. I don't charge for them. You'll get to share a little bit with me about what's going on, and I will give you some pointers just like this and help you get pointed in the right direction. So I hope to see some of you on my calendar soon, and I'll talk to you next week.